When we heard he was a candidate, we contacted him right away. He was gracious enough to come at very short notice. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, I'm a Republican, and I love being a Republican because, one, we like to party, and we're happy people. It's, you know, the other day there was a panel discussion with Republican and Democratic gubernatorial candidates, and on the Democratic side you heard crisis, crisis, crisis. And on the Republican side you hear opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. We've already heard it a couple times here tonight, and you're going to hear it from me as well. And I think that's, we're forward-thinking people, we're happy people, we don't get down, and some days are better than others, but right now the sun's shining bright, and it's, but it is going forward. So I think this really is an opportunity and a defining moment, and that's why I threw my hat in the ring to run for governor. I've served as first selectman of Chester for the last 4 years, and I did that because it was an opportunity to get involved in your community and local government. And one of the things that I heard here early on is the community pride that we all have. We have 169 towns, and each of those towns has an identity, and each of those towns has a pride. And I think where we are today, and with the challenges that are facing us, we're going to make a decision. And the decision is going to be, is the very first priority going to be for this state is to maintain the quality of life that we all enjoy. It's the reason we're here. It's the reason Connecticut has been a leader in the world economy in the past. Or are we going to throw that away for a quick fix solution that's going to compromise the integrity of our government? It's going to compromise the integrity of the quality of life that we enjoy, so that we can have another quick fix solution to an economic downturn. And I want to just take you back a couple of decades, and it's about when I came to Connecticut and I started my own company. And I know we have some new names in the race, but I believe I'm the only one that started my own business and run my own business, and I also run a municipality. I've been on both sides of the street with there, and I think it's perspective that's going to be required as we face the challenge that we have ahead. But not quite 20 years ago, we had a fiscal crisis, and what did we do? We enacted an income tax. We added another layer of taxation to our community. 10 years after that, we had another fiscal crisis, and what did we do? We had some fairly draconian cuts in state employment that maybe didn't save us the money we want, and certainly hampered an already inefficient system of supplying services. What did we do this last time? We've maxed out our credit card. So we don't have the tools that we had in the past. We've maxed out our credit card, we've cut services, and we've increased our tax burden to a point where it's oppressive to all of us. So we don't have those blunt instruments to use anymore, and we really don't have the opportunity to fail anymore either. And at a very basic level, what I'm proposing and what my message is the way to get out of this, nothing is permanent, but for a long period of time, is to engage our municipal governments in the process of state governments. What you hear on both sides of the aisle these days is regionalization. That whether it's mandated regionalization or incentivized regionalization, that somehow that's going to be the panacea, the magic bullet that's going to get us all out of this. And what I'm seeing in that is we're going to add another layer of government that, from a municipal level, it may not be reported out in the general public, is they're talking about regional revenue sharing, regional planning and zoning commissions, regional finance boards. And another layer of government that separates the people who pay the tax from the people who spend the money is not the way that's going to bring us out of this situation. Now, that doesn't mean regionalization is bad, because a town like Chester, and certainly in this community, we all work together. We do it when it makes sense for our communities. We share everything from a regional transit service to a dog catcher and a street sweeper, because it makes sense for us to do. But when the state comes to us and says, you know what, your health system, your health services aren't quite efficient enough, so we want you to join a regional health service, it was going to double the cost for a town like us. They weren't doing it because it makes sense. They were doing it because it's easier to herd us cats when there's fewer of them. So they put another layer of bureaucracy in there to help manage the municipalities that are out there. Now, when it gets back, again, to, it may be a matter of semantics, but we hear, we need jobs. not so much that we need them, we do, but we have to have jobs, and we have to have tax cuts. We don't have to have any. There's nobody that's going to give it to us just because we have to have it. We have to earn it. We have to provide the environment that's going to allow for that to happen. And at the basic core of all this, again, is it gets back to the quality of life that we have here. And if we don't maintain the quality of life, we're not going to maintain the jobs. We're not going to provide the infrastructure that the jobs are required to have. We're not going to be able to provide the package that's going to be necessary to attract the businesses here. So often, you hear we need to bring jobs to Connecticut. Well, that's absolutely true. But in order to do that, we have to have a legislature that agrees with us. And again, as a municipal leader, I'll hear Republicans say it, I'll hear Democrats say it, we need to bring jobs to Connecticut. And then they go and they legislate against bringing any job to Connecticut. We constantly rank last or near the bottom when it comes to legislative friendliness, business environment. That you can say it, but just because you say it doesn't mean someone's going to pay attention to you. You have to act it. You have to bring the legislature together with the leadership, with the municipalities, and say, it doesn't matter what side are you pro-labor? Are you pro-business? Well, if there's no business, there's no labor. So how can we work together to bring together a common solution that if we're saying we want business, how can we legislate it in such a way that it makes sense to the people that want to come to the state, create jobs, and grow them? I know in the small towns in Connecticut, and in the bigger towns, that's where the business is. It's at that level. It's the quality of life that attracts, maintains, and keeps them here. When it comes to how do you get it done, again, it gets that cooperative effort. That you get the rhetoric aside. You know, as one actually, he was a former Democratic legislator. He said there used to be kind of three parties. There was the rabid left, the rabid right, and the center on both. And sometimes that created a different level of discussion. And right now, both parties are so engaged in rhetoric that we're not seeing the middle ground that's necessary to bring compromise together. And even in the best of situations, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, but if we have a 55-45 majority, that's going to be good. It's never going to be 90-10. And we have to have that understanding, sit down, work together, and get our objectives to move us forward. Specifically, I would say one of the things we need to do is share the revenues that we already have with all facets of government. We have enough revenue sources out there that to add another layer of government or another type of taxation is a ridiculous comment. And when you hear the Democratic candidate say it's all they have, they're not allowed to say taxation. They have revenue enhancements or revenue sources. You know, and I think if you say it enough, they forget that it is taxation. But we have sales tax, income tax, gas tax, cigarettes tax, taxes. I think there may be, I don't know how many different sources. But in a very basic way, you can identify the sources that come from your community, so you know how much you've paid in. Because never forget, it's all our money. It's the money in here. We take it, we send it up to the Hartford Mixmaster, and then they give us back pennies on a dollar. It's the worst investment any of us can make. But if we take some of the money that comes for our communities, and it just comes back. It doesn't go through the Mixmaster. It doesn't have all the strings attached. And again, from a municipal leadership position, you see this. We send the money up, we beg for nickels and dimes to come back so we can pave a road or improve our sewer system. Just let it come back to us and give us the responsibility to manage it at a local level. Is there any level of government anywhere in the world that's more accountable to its people than the town meeting form of government, where I have to go? I would love to see my state legislator come to one of my budget hearings and say, well, this is why I'm doing it, like I have to do with my budget. And I will tell you that I expect that I am the only municipal leader in this state that when I took office in 2005, our budget had failed twice. We had a bridge that was closed for 2.5 years. We had a sewer system that that was failed for 17 years. The budget that I have in my town today is less than the budget that I inherited in 2005. And not just budgeted, actual numbers. It may be actually $16,000 less, but it's less. And nobody else can say that. We had a $900,000 grant to build a bridge that nobody wanted because it met the state and federal transportation standards. It was a